You may be wondering why you are still single as a lesbian woman or a same sex attracted female. You can easily be distracted by looking at other people's relationship status, causing you to feel left out or increasing feelings of loneliness, sadness, distance. Maybe you even feel a little bit embarrassed about still being single. And maybe you've even asked yourself, why am I still single? And I want to say, ladies, that your relationship status is good. You're in a good place. Being single is a very necessary part of life. And most people rush through their single status. They don't stay single long because they're rushing into another relationship, or they distract themselves by being around a lot of people and staying busy. But just because you're staying busy does not mean that you're being productive. And just because you're in a relationship with someone does not mean that that person is compatible or meant for you. We live in a heteronormative society, and we are bombarded with images and advertising and social environments that promote and discuss, as well as celebrate being in a heterosexual relationship, either dating or married. But we're lesbians and we are interested in women exclusively. So we find ourselves being single lesbians, and this can be challenging. And I want to share with you some information on why lesbians are single, or rather, why it's a challenge or a struggle for lesbians to be single. And I titled this video, Three Reasons Why Lesbians Struggle Being Single. My name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. Please take a moment to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do provide content about the lesbian experience in living in a heteronormative society as an LGBTQ plus person who strives to live an authentic, fulfilling life. Thank you for subscribing. I have a little quick list here that I made so you can actually see for yourself the three reasons that I'll mention in this video. Now, these three reasons, they're not exhaustive and they're not in chronological order in the sense of one being more important or more serious than the others. Just I listed three reasons why lesbians struggle being single. And the number one reason, let me first clarify, it's not the number one reason, meaning like this is the absolute priority reason. No, it's just meaning number one. Lesbians have a smaller dating pool. The number two reason, scarce resources and faulty information about lesbian relationships and lesbian sexuality. Number three, women have a natural desire to be in an intimate relationship. So, with number one, lesbians have a smaller dating pool. If you know anything about statistics, as well as the United States Census, every 10 years, the United States Census Bureau will send out, literally at this point, billions of forms to different households of residents, of people in the United States, to get a census on how many people are in a household. And one of the questions in these forms is your sexual orientation. When all of the information is retrieved and they provide the statistics for you to see, it's public information, you will learn that the majority of people who fill out these forms identify as heterosexual. And generally, they will report that 90% of people identify as heterosexual, and this can include both males and females. And then the other 10% of people identify as homosexual. But you have to consider male and female. And so that would divide that 10% into 5% identify as homosexual males, and the other 5% identify as homosexual females. This is just a broad statistic. It's not perfect and it's not completely accurate because a lot of people don't even fill out these forms. And some people are very hesitant about revealing their real sexual orientation because of concerns of discrimination. So, by just having this general consensus, that lets us know why lesbians have a smaller dating pool. We don't have as many people to choose from when we consider dating and relationships and marriage. There are women who identify as lesbians, but there are also women who identify as bisexual or pansexual. This means that these women fall under a pool of women who love women. That means that if their sexual orientation allows them to be attracted to the same sex, those are the people who you can date. But when you get into even more intricate details, just because another person has the same sexual orientation as you does not mean that they are compatible with you. And it doesn't mean that you are attracted to them. Some people you will never date. Some people you will never come across in your life path. And that's fine. The way this world is designed, I believe in a higher power. I do believe in the Most High God. And ultimately, I believe that God orchestrates relationships because God is love. And when you are concerned about being ignored or overlooked or left behind or neglected, or you may feel like you will never find another lesbian partner, be rest assured that your desire to be with someone who you have a lot in common with, who you are physically and sexually attracted to, and who you have the same morals and values. You share the same morals and values, and you have a lot of interest and things that you aspire to do together in your partnership together. Because you are thinking this way and feeling this way, there is another woman out here in this world who is thinking and feeling the same exact way. And your desires, your attractions are permanent and they're imminent. So since these desires are there, because who you are as a lesbian is innate, and you don't have any control over your sexual orientation, there's also someone else who is thinking and feeling the same way. And that fact alone lets you know that there is someone else out there for you. And many times lesbians get anxious and they become discouraged that because they're marginalized in a heteronormative homophobic society, that they'll be left out, that they won't have a chance or opportunity to be with a woman. But it's just not true. And I do believe that, as I mentioned, God orchestrates relationships because when you think about it, you probably already have been in a relationship before with a woman. And even if you're not with the lady, or maybe you liked her and she liked you in return, but you learned that you weren't compatible with each other, so the relationship ended. The fact still remains that you were in a lesbian relationship before. And it's been the same smaller dating pool. So you've had the experience of being in a relationship before. So you can have hope that you will have another relationship with a woman again. But this next time, it will work. Number two, scarce resources and faulty information about lesbian relationships and lesbian sexuality. If you just go get in your car and drive down the street, you probably are going to see a billboard, which is going to consist of a heterosexual couple. You're probably going to uh, see a heterosexual couple in the car together, kissing or holding hands or walking across the street or on the sidewalk. And then if you just go somewhere in a public setting, whether that's at the mall or the restaurant, or if you go shopping, you see heterosexual people all the time coupled up together. You know why? Because we live in a heteronormative society. But just because we live in a heteronormative society does not mean that lesbian or same sex attracted people do not exist. We're actually everywhere. It's just harder to find us. And the reasons why are varied. But for example, a lot of times homosexual or bisexual people tend to blend in with everyone else because of discrimination in this world against same sex attracted people. We're all often conditioned to fit in into society, but or conform to the norms of heterosexuality. So it's not always easy to see or pick out who's lesbian, who's bisexual, who's pansexual. And this carries over into initially our family dynamics. Most of us come from heterosexual family households. And then you go to church, and the church environment usually doesn't support homosexuality. And you may be in a work environment or setting which only recognizes and acknowledges heterosexual relationships. And when you're in an environment such as dealing with peers or some type of social setting, it could be, for example, you go into some type of event or a party, everything there is catered to heterosexual people. And more often than not, when you are in an educational sector, whether that's grade school, high school, college, university, you will be taught from a heterosexual perspective. And there's ever going debates and also what I would describe as being discrimination against LGBTQ people in the educational sector, because you have parents who do not want their children to be taught about LGBTQ people. So they're removing like sex education out of the schools and whatnot. And all of this information affects lesbians. It affects same-sex attracted people. And heterosexual people, they have so many resources. They have so many uh, organizations and support groups that provide them with content and information that they can rely on to help them in their relationships in any type of social setting, at home, at church, at work, at school. I mean, anywhere, you name it, even on social media. You can't open up social media without somebody having a podcast or some type of content that discusses heterosexual relationships. But rarely do you find any information that's just out there for you to easily access that focuses on lesbian relationships and lesbian sexuality. And for LGBTQ people, it's like a needle in a haystack. And because of this, it's like we're starving for information about ourselves. And when we try to go find the information, you have to be careful, because I am a very um, I'm a learner. I'm someone who enjoys learning. I love research. I love to constantly keep myself updated about current events as a life coach. And I am also someone who has various degrees in different types of sections or sectors of information because I like to learn. And when I went to school to get my master's degree in human behavior, my primary was on the LGBTQ community. And I learned a lot of information. And by going through that educational experience, I learned how difficult it is to get access to information about the LGBTQ plus community. And not only that, while studying, I was able to find concrete information, accurate information. But in learning about the LGBTQ plus community, I learned how much faulty, misleading information is circulated around social media and in the actual media, meaning the news outlets, the newspapers, magazines. There's so much information that is so inaccurate about lesbian sexuality and LGBTQ plus people. You have to keep your antennas up. You have to really be self-aware and intuitive about who you are. And that's why it's so important that when you identify as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or LGBTQ plus person, you have to stay connected with yourself. You have to stay grounded in who you are because there's so much information out here, and the people that you are surrounded by, if they don't identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or LGBTQ, you can't really expect them to teach you about our community. You have to know yourself and you have to go out and find the information on your own because they're not going to do it for you. And then don't let them be homophobic or biphobic or transphobic because then it becomes even more challenging, and you do not, of course, want to depend on someone who has a disdain for the LGBTQ plus community. And that's why I am a lesbian life coach and author, and I provide spaces for our community to get accurate information. So because we don't have reliable resources and we don't always have the right support groups, we usually kind of have to figure things out on our own. And that's why community is so important. And society wants to divide the lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGBTQ community. And they want us to be isolated and lonely. And that's another big reason why lesbians experience a lot of loneliness, because we're just so disconnected from other lesbians. We want to connect. We want to meet each other. We want to have friendships and romantic relationships with one another. But it's hard to find us. And it's hard to get the support that we need to navigate this life that we're in. And I'm a big huge advocate of mental health. So I would encourage any person who identifies as lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, if you are under the LGBTQIA plus community umbrella, Find you a professional counselor, find you a professional life coach, and make sure that they are LGBTQ supporters. Don't make the mistake of going to these counselors and life coaches who try to deter you from being your authentic self as an LGBTQ plus person, because they are out there. So be careful of that. But when we have all of this toxic, faulty information circling around, I mean, all you have to do is just open up social media. You can go on Instagram, for example, and it's always some influencer or maybe even celebrity who has a misinterpretation about LGBTQ people. And because they're influencers or celebrities, then that information circulates so fast. And other people, if they're not independent thinkers, they'll believe a lot of this nonsense that's going around. And you just got to be careful of it, you know. So it's good to speak up about yourself as a lesbian or a same-sex attracted person. Number 3, women have a natural desire to be in an intimate relationship. Women are very relational creatures. We are very affectionate. We enjoy communication. We enjoy intimacy. We enjoy friendships and bonding and sharing and caring. And we want to experience this with another person. That's just women, period. Women have a natural desire to feel safe and be protected. And so we like to put ourselves in places and positions where we feel safe and we feel welcome. When you are a woman who loves women, this is a whole nother dynamic, because now you're involving 2 women in a relationship together. And that's very powerful. When you consider the nature of a woman who is nurturing, she's sensitive, and she's soft, and she's delicate, she's lovable. When you put these 2 women together in a relationship, it is extremely emotional. It's very intimate. And women enjoy being around someone who they feel connected to. It's very hard in this society nowadays, because the irony is we have so much access to listening and watching people because of technology. You can get on your smartphones and just open up social media, and you can feel a sense of satisfaction by engaging with someone on social media. But then sometimes you feel still overwhelmingly disconnected from people, because this is a virtual world. You can't physically touch the person, you can't physically hang out with the person, so you still don't feel connected. And there's a reason for that, because we're humans. We need physical touch. We're not supposed to be separated from one another. We're not supposed to be isolated from one another for too long. Now, I do believe isolation is important. Being alone is important. Being single is important. It has its time and place. And being a spiritual person, the best way you get to know yourself, the best way that you become confident in yourself and secure in who you are, is that time that you are alone, that time that you are isolated. Isolation is not necessarily a bad thing. And I believe that God sometimes isolates you for a season because he knows that since you have a desire to connect with another person, you're going to want to automatically be around other people. And very rarely will you choose to be by yourself. So sometimes God, being the infinite guide, the ultimate wisdom source, he will cause our relationships with other people to be affected in the sense that something will happen, something will cause that relationship to sever, and you'll no longer be friends with someone, for example, or you'll no longer be dating this person, and you'll sometimes be bewildered, or you'll be upset that the relationship didn't work out, the friendship didn't work out. But sometimes that's God working on your behalf, because you need to be alone. You need that time to get come to the understanding that you do not really know yourself. You need to be able to have alone time to be at peace with your own life. And so this is why being single is such an important state to be in. And so many people try to be in relationships all the time, and their relationships really are constantly in a state of conflict and devastation. And this is causing you to be a more conflicted, devastating person while you're thinking that, oh, I'm with someone, I have a girlfriend, I'm good. When really you're actually dismantling yourself. You're putting yourself in a position where your mental health is declining. That's why being single is so important, because when you're single, you become grounded, and you also have time to spend with God. You can deepen and enhance your personal relationship with God. So being with people sometimes is a distraction. But at some point, when you find your personal inner peace, your whole energy changes. It actually becomes lighter and brighter. And you begin to attract women who are more healthier, women who are more on your level. And you won't even necessarily be looking for these women, they'll come to you. And that's a sign that you're healthy. And it's also a sign that your partner is out there. So we as women desire to be in relationships. We love as lesbians to please women. We enjoy being affectionate. Women enjoy just being around each other. And a woman can make you feel so beautiful, so loved. And being with the woman who is like-minded is healthy. Like-minded in the sense where she makes you want to be a better woman. She actually inspires you and encourages you and uplifts your spirit. This is the kind of woman that you need. And she's not going to be available to you unless you are ready for that type of woman, and vice versa. You're not going to be interested in a woman who you see as immature. You see her as being desperate, or she's just, her mind is cluttered. She's very distracted all the time. She seems anxious. That's not appealing. And you don't want that extra stress in your life. So you're not going to be with a woman who expresses and inhabits those characteristics. Women who love women are a necessary ingredient to life. Being a lesbian or a same-sex attracted person creates balance in this world. And everyone is not heterosexual. Many of us are lesbians. Many of us are same-sex attracted women. And you do fall under the umbrella of being a same-sex attracted woman if you are mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, and spiritually attracted to women. So just understand and know, ladies, that who you are as a lesbian woman has a purpose. Most of us will not be alone forever. And I know it may feel like it because you wake up every day to yourself, but make sure you're using this time to your advantage. Go take a course in what you've been wanting to learn about. Go and take a course, for example, in safety and self-defense. Go to a gun shooting range. Learn how to protect yourself. Learn how to strengthen your body. Maybe join a fitness class event and stay consistent. If you are someone who loves the arts, the sciences, theater, there's so much that you can fill your schedule up with that you won't even remember that you're single because you're staying active, you're staying busy, and you're being productive. And then before you know it, you're going to be this new woman and you're going to like who you see in the mirror. We are women who love women because we are women who love women. And we will one day meet our lifelong partner. Keep the faith, ladies. Stay loving yourselves and stay true to yourselves. I hope you enjoyed 3 reasons why lesbians struggle being single. If you want to listen to this message again, listen to it again, let it resonate in your spirit. Anytime you start feeling lonely or sad or doubtful or left out, listen to this video again and have a beautiful day. My name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. Thank you for listening.